Hello, folks. This is gonna be another one of those, bipolar type something vlogs. The last one I did, I was quite the mess. That's to show how bad it can get. I'm a little wired today, but whatever. It's in more control. And I think today I want to talk about hypomania and mania, or at least how I experience that crap. So let me tell you about hypomania. God, I am more wise than I thought. My brain's a little scattered. But hypomania is, well, how do I put this? How do I describe what hypomania is? Well, folks, has anyone ever played sports? Has anyone ever played sports and, you got this shot of adrenaline where you're like, I can do anything, for those sports fans, or you see in the football field, how they get pumped up before the game, and they're like, That's what kind of hypomania is. For me, at least. It's sometimes it'll come on gradually, and other times it'll come on suddenly. Gradually, it'll be I'll start getting, surges of energy throughout the day, and then suddenly I'm just And other times it'll just come on suddenly, where I'm just but that's how hypomania is. It's like a shot of adrenaline, like when you watch sports and you see those people. That's what it's like. Only for me, it lasts a few days, anywhere between a few days to a week. And see, hypomania, for me, it's just like that mood where I'm just it's just like a surge of energy for me, and I'm just oh yes, it's where has this been? Oh my God, it's I feel, and I'm not gonna lie, it feels great. I mean, it's just I just have so much energy, and it's just yes! It's I'm a little wired right now, but it's I have so much energy, I have this boundless amount of energy, and it's I can do, and it's not only that, but it's my confidence level just goes through the roof. It's I can do anything, I feel like I can do anything. I'm Superman. I can take on anything. I can take on the world. Anything the world throws at me, come on, I can take on it. That's one of the things. That's kind of one of the things that happens. That's kind of what happens with me. I have a little bit of delusion of grandeur. I'm I'm the best in the world. Yeah, I can take on anything. And so it's that. That's one of them. Another thing is that what will happen is that I'll get really creative. That's when I'm this right now, a little wiry, or when I'm that in hypomania, I'll get it's called flight of ideas. I'll get a flight of ideas. I'll get a shitload of crazy ideas, really creative, crazy ideas. And I'm gonna be honest, folks, Doom Chronicles 1, Doom Chronicles 2, those Doom Chronicles videos, 1, 2, and pretty much a lot of my Epic Moment and comic books video, that all came when I was really hypomanic. That all came from when I was in that state, in that hypomanic state. All those ideas for those videos came from this hypomaniac state. It came from that. It's you just get a load of crazy ideas. It's insane. And in fact, I'll be honest with you, the Epic Moment and comic books that I'll probably upload, that you'll probably be uploaded by the time this video gets uploaded, I wrote the next one, and I wrote the one after that in a span of 15 minutes when I was hypomanic. In 15 minutes, I wrote all of that. Lines, what's gonna happen, the script, everything. I did all of that. In 15 minutes, that. I mean, that's just some insane productivity, which is another thing. I'm a lot more productive. I get things done a lot faster. And my brain goes faster too. It goes 100 miles an hour. But that not in a bad way, but in a good way, meaning it works faster. I can figure things out faster, I can do things faster, it's more controlled, and it's in a more controlled fashion, it's not overwhelming at all, and I can do things a lot better. So that's another thing that will happen. I'm more productive, I'm a lot more shifty. Another thing that kind of happens is that I'm a lot more outgoing when I'm kind of like this, when I'm hypomanic. I'm a lot more outgoing, in me, if I'm, when I'm depressed, I don't want to be around people, and when I'm normal, I'm kind of, more or less, I kind of go to at work, for example, I'll go to my area, I'll go to my area, and I kind of more or less keep to myself, and if people come talk to me, then I will be more than willing to come and talk to them. But that's how I am normally. When I'm hypomanic, right now, I go, I will go and approach people. I will like literally, and I've done this before, I will high five strangers on the street. I'll be like, yeah, how are you doing? High five, and it's crazy. And I'll actually go approach people. I'll approach anybody, and I'll be like, how are you doing? Hey, what's up? How's everything going? And if people who know me, when I'm normal, in a normal mood, I never approach people, ever. And, like, not only that, but, like, at work, I'm, like, jumping up and hitting doorways and hitting, like, the top of the doorways, and I'm, like, talking to patients and people like crazy, and that's just the way it works for me. Damn it, someone hit a Phillies hit a home run off the Cubs, those losers. But anyway, yeah, so that's another thing that happens. I'm a lot more outgoing. And another thing that kind of happens, too, is that, popcorn was on the floor. I eat off the floor. What are you gonna do? Another thing that you see what I did there? Another thing that kind of happens when I'm hypomanic is that I won't want to go to sleep. Don't get me wrong, I'll get to sleep. I'll get my 7 or 9 hours of sleep, because the hardest part is just getting to sleep. I will eventually get there. It might take an hour or two, but I will get there. But the thing about it is I won't want to go to sleep. I'll be really resistant. Like, I'll be like, oh no, I'll feel like, oh, I have so much things to do. I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to look on the computer, I have to clean the house, I have to do something. I feel like I have to do a bunch of things, and a bunch of things that don't need to be done. And that's the way it works. And I won't want to go to sleep, but I'll have to, like, force myself to sit there in bed, close my eyes, and I will get to sleep. And I think the reason I haven't had like a full-blown mania, which is like psychotic features, or like some sort of psychosis, I think the reason I haven't had that is because I do get my 7 or 9 hours of sleep. Because some people that do have psychotic episodes, typically they don't sleep a whole lot, and I think that kind of contributes to it, in my opinion. But you can see I'm a little shifty right now, and I'm shaking my legs in the bottom, but that's the way it goes. For me, I'm really resistant. I don't want to go to sleep. And so, like, hypomania, like I said, hypomania feels great. It's like the way I'm feeling right now, it's like, just energized. It's like electricity going through your veins. And I've never done drugs before, ever. But if anyone has done drugs before, like cocaine or something, I think the reason people do drugs to get to this point, to get to this high, to get to the high that I get to just out of nowhere, like I kind of am right now. And I think that's why people do drugs, is to get to that high, and that's what it's kind of like. Only I think it's a little better than that. For me, it's just like, it feels so great, folks, I'm telling you. Another thing that will happen is that I'll get really distracted easily. You might have noticed in the video, I'll get like really distracted easily. And so, like, I was in my counselor's office one day, like the day I was really bouncing off the wall. I was like, oh, look at that hat. That's a nice hat. I'm like, oh, look at that lamp. Look at that fiber net. I'll get distracted a little more easy. And another thing that I caught myself doing that I noticed is that, well, one thing is that I'll talk a little fast. My brain's going so fast, and so I'll feel like I can't talk fast enough to keep up with my brain. And so damn it, I keep distracting myself, but I'll talk faster. I'll talk faster. Okay, where was I? Oh yes. Another thing that I'll do is that I'll go on a lot of tangents. Like sometimes when I'm talking to people, when I'm like in hypomanic state, I'll kind of tangent. I'll go on a lot of tangents, like crazy. I'll go on different tangents. And I think I've done it in this video, actually. And for example, I actually caught myself doing this in a counselor's office. We were talking about something, right? So we were talking about, like, I can't remember, but let me just give you an example. Like, for example, if I'm talking to someone about baseball, like, oh, the Cubs are doing great, and then suddenly I'll just flip, I'll be like, oh, it would be a great idea if I came to work with a top hat and a cane, and said, hey, how are you doing? And then kind of shuffle it away, and then I was like, and then I would like transition, I'll be like, Abraham Lincoln was pretty cool, and he was fantastic, he was a great president, and then I was like, oh, my insurance is so great, and then I'll, and that's kind of an example, like, I'll jump from topic to topic to topic. I'll lose track really easily, and I'll like jump from like baseball to one of my crazy ideas to just another like some historical note back to like baseball, and I'll like jump around like that. And that's another thing that will happen. I actually did this recently in my counselor's office the other day. I jumped from topic to topic, and I caught myself. And thankfully, I caught myself. I was like, wait a minute, like I jumped off tangent, didn't I? And I was like, what were we talking about again? And I'm like, oh, right, right. And so that's another thing that happens when I'm hypomanic. I jump from, like, when I'm talking to someone, it's kind of almost like a monologue. I'll jump from topic to topic to topic sometimes. And sometimes I can catch myself. And I'm like, what were we talking about again? So sometimes I can catch myself. But that's another thing. And so that's how hypomania is. And I'll be lying right and say it feels fantastic. Oh, I'm telling you. I'm also a lot more annoying to my siblings, I will say. But that's hypomania. That's kind of the symptoms, you know. You get these crazy fighter ideas. You have this just super amount of energy. I'm so much more outgoing. My brain goes faster. I can get a lot more things done. It's not that debilitating. I'm like sleep resistant as well. So that's hypomania. You know, I probably did a crappy job. And now, there's another notch above this level, above like the level that I'm in at right now, hypomania. I don't know if you can call it mania. I don't know if we can call it mania or I guess let's call it mania or hyperactivity because I don't experience psychosis. But when because either there's that level and then there's another level above that. And when I get to that level that's above the hypomania, that's when it's too much. That's when it's overwhelming. You know, that's when it's just too much and it's overwhelming and it gets scary. Because when I get to that point, above the point that I am at now, I mean, and let's just say that's mania. When I get to that point, my brain goes way too fast. See, I said it goes 100 miles an hour when I'm hypomanic. It goes like 1,000 miles an hour. Like, it will go 1,000 miles an hour. Like, crazy. Like, you know, it'll go 1,000 miles an hour and it will be way too much. I cannot, when that happens, I can't focus. I can't concentrate. I mean, it's a struggle to pull any single dot and focus on that. It's way too much. And it feels like my brain is on fire. You know, it'll feel like my brain is just on fire, you know, like, oh my God. You know, and then that's another thing. When that happens, I'll get really irritable. I'll get like really irritable and angry, you know. And it's not for any reason. It's because of that. And another thing too is like right now when I'm hypomanic, sometimes I'm a little more shifty. But when I'm like at that level, at manic level, I mean, I cannot sit still whatsoever. I constantly moving around and I'm constantly moving around and I'm like literally ready to jump out of my skin. I mean, it's just, oh, I cannot sit still. I'm like, damn it. And, you know, that's not fun. That feeling is not fun. Another thing that kind of happens is that, damn it, I'm losing my train of thought. Yeah, so that's kind of what happens when I'm kind of like that when I'm manic. It's like, it's awful. Like, and you know, the way the head works with the racing dots and the fact that I can't concentrate. And for those of you who read X-Men, those of you who remember Rogue and who have seen some of the X-Men cartoons with Rogue, you remember it's like some of the times when Rogue, she had absorbed so many personalities and so many powers that she couldn't control it, and that it was driving her mind crazy, and so she couldn't really focus on anything. And that's kind of how it is. That's what it's like when I'm manic. When my brain just feels like it's on fire. That's kind of what it's like when I'm like really manic and I'm like really and that like I said, that's disturbing. That's the one that's really debilitating, and that's when I'm really irritable, when I can't concentrate whatsoever. I can't sit still. I'm about ready to jump out of my skin. It's, you know, and not only that, but you know, when I said when I'm hypomanic, I kind of get like this a little electricity going through my brain. Well, that is like electricity overloaded. It's like it's pouring out of it's like the electricity is coming out of my skin, you know, and it's just way too much energy, way too much. It is just completely overwhelming. And so, yeah, that's how I experienced like hypomania and I guess mania if you want to call it that. So, thanks everyone for watching this.